you rank the best season of South Park? Do you go by the funniest episodes, the smartest episodes, the ones with the most iconic moments?
I don't go to school and I kill people. Whatever, I do what I want.
No, you do none of those, because that sounds complicated and I'm lazy. The truth is, I'm making this top 10 list as a follow-up to my season 6 retrospective, sort of a companion piece. And I'm mostly just doing it because I think it'd be fun. So for the purpose of this video, we're gonna be going by my subjective opinion for which episodes are best. Now I'm gonna be keeping this to a top 10 because again, I'm lazy. And I'm also gonna be keeping my reviews on the lighter side because let's be real, this season is full of bangers that are worthy of episode breakdowns on their own. So I'm gonna save all the super detailed analysis for later. Anyways, grab your Subway sandwiches, grab your poop baskets, because these are my top 10 episodes from South Park Season 6. Now before I announce my pick here, I just want you guys to know that I deliberated hard over which episode to go with for this number 10 spot, because this really is an amazing season. So I sat on this for weeks, I got in the trenches, deconstructed the episodes from every angle. But you know what? In the end, I made the choice I made because of one joke and one joke alone. The Japanese weather report from the ladder to heaven.
And now for the weather in heaven, let's go to Natsuko-sen.
Today weather in heaven, partly cloudy.
Okay, so I didn't really pick this episode just because of that joke, even though it's a great joke, but it did help nudge it into that 10th place spot. Now I'll admit it, in a lot of ways this episode might seem like a weird one to go with, because compared to a lot of the other episodes in season 6, it doesn't necessarily have the strongest story. The boys build a ladder to heaven because they want to ask Kenny where he left their winning ticket to a candy spree, and the ladder ends up becoming a cultural sensation that gets military funding because everyone that's from the world of South Park is either completely insane or insanely stupid. Now does it have an intriguing premise? Yes, though it's not quite as strong as something like My Future Self and Me, which has a much more inherently exciting conflict in my opinion. But where this episode shines is in how it flavors that plot. The boys don't just build a ladder to heaven to speak with Kenny, Cartman accidentally gets possessed by him too, which leads into this multi-episode side story that only finishes near the end of the season. And yeah, that doesn't necessarily contribute a lot to the story of the ladder itself, but I really enjoy this part of the episode and I think it's a very cool concept. The same goes to the military part. They don't just help fund the ladder to heaven, they're specifically planning to use it to attack Saddam Hussein, who they believe is making nuclear bombs in heaven.
We have tried to communicate with Saddam through a psychic to ask him to let us see his warehouses in heaven, but he has not responded.
Of course he has not responded because he's dead.
Right, dead and in heaven.
So again, in terms of plot advancement, I don't think the military angle does a lot either, or at least it doesn't go anywhere, but it's also hilarious, so who cares? And also what makes it even better is the fact that not only are they right about Saddam Hussein building nukes in heaven, but they're completely up to date on what happened in hell too, which is like such a nice little fan servicey lore drop for the simps like me, who totally rated this episode higher because I'm a sucker for that shit. In fact, if I'm being honest, fan service is the real reason that I ended up going with this for 10th place. Partly because I love that we got a return of Kenny's character through the Cartman possession stuff in a season that doesn't have Kenny, but mostly because I love that after 2 long years of absence, we finally got to see Saddam and God again.
Saddam, I've been hearing rumors that you're secretly building weapons of mass destruction up here.
Weapons of mass destruction? No! This is a chocolate chip factory. See?
Yeah, that scene alone probably makes me like this episode more than I should, but what are you gonna do? Anyways, while I do think that this is probably the weakest episode on the list, I do enjoy the balance it strikes when it comes to the different character perspectives. We get some focus on the parents and the various people getting emotional over the ladder, because they don't know that it's all being done for candy, so it feels very touching. The same goes for the scene with Kenny's parents. I kinda like to see that they're grieving, even though it makes me sad. We get the idiotic government and military stuff that pushes things into hilarious levels of absurdity and stupidity, including that fake Japan report from heaven. And then of course we get some classic scenes with the boys ripping on each other and doing what they can to get that candy, or in Cartman's case to get Kenny aborted. So yeah, maybe weaker than some of the episodes on this list, but still top tier nonetheless. Plus it gave us the ultimate country song.
Where were you when they built the ladder to heaven? Did it make you feel like crying, or did you think it was kinda gay?
Now this next episode is kind of a mystery to me. I actually have no idea how people are gonna feel about the way I ranked it, because it's either the kind of episode that you love and expect to see near the top of this list, or it's whatever to you and probably isn't even in your top 10. Anyways, I am, of course, talking about the return of the Fellowship of the Ring to the two. Nah, I'm just with you. It's Aspen.
Pizza, fries, fries. Pizza, fries, 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 fries. Pizza.
Aspen is one of those episodes that's just too damn charming to resist. Whether it's the town, the ski resort, the timeshare people, or the 80s movie stuff, every scene has something funny and novel to offer that makes it feel like a fun deviation from your typical South Park outing. Like, where else are you gonna get Thumper teaching you how to ski, random happy guy doing drugs on the street, or Butters dancing to disco? This episode's got everything, baby. And it's pretty emblematic of the direction that season 6 was taking the show. It gives us a more expanded South Park world that dares to venture outside of the town. It's got biting commentary on both timeshares and 80s rom-com movies, especially considering that the main storyline follows Stan as he accidentally gets himself into a ski battle with some generic douchebag character.
Stan Darsh! Stan Darsh! 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 Stan Darsh!
In a lot of ways, it reminds me of the Tally episode because of how apathetic the boys are in response to everything that's happening to them, which has just always been a trope of South Park that I really like. Though I think Tally does it better because it focuses more on the boys. But the best part of this episode, in my opinion, is not any of the ski stuff, it's the timeshare stuff with the parents. I mean, first of all, it's nice to see the parents get some extra focus, some extra love. They do basically start and end this episode. But more importantly, I love this B-plot because it's just such a funny and poignant way of getting their message across. The timeshare people are absolutely relentless. Like, the lengths they'll go to in order to keep bringing the parents back to their meetings is absolutely insane and hilarious to me. And to this day, the lobster scene still lives rent-free in my head.
Oh, you know, this is really great.
It sure is. What? Wait.
You see, that's the great thing about timeshare. You get a little taste of luxuries you can't afford.
Now, I'd just like to take a moment to very quickly say, please never buy timeshare. Listen to this episode. Timeshare is a scam and it will haunt you forever. Do not do it. Okay, I feel better now. Anyways, I know what you're thinking. If I like this episode so much, then why didn't I rank it higher? I mean, it's got all the makings of a top of list episode, and that's true. But honestly, I just find that even though I like the deviation, I still prefer the more standard South Park outings over this one. Like, in exchange for being a more novel and special kind of episode, we end up getting less screen time with the boys to make space for the random 80s side characters. And that works, it's funny, but I tend to prefer focusing on Stan, Kyle, and Cartman instead of some weird, cheesy, Better Off Dead knockoffs. But I will say, at least the moments we do get with the boys have some top tier Cartman bullying Butters moments.
Hey, do you guys smell that? Smell what? It kind of smells stinky in this condo. I don't smell anything. Do you guys?
So how you guys doing so far? How you guys feeling? Is everyone tucked in and comfy? Are we all cozy wozy? Do you need me to get you some hot chalky? Yeah, there you go. All right, good. Because this next episode is serious business, okay? Like, I mean, this is no joke. This next South Park episode is no joke. There is no joking about this South Park episode. These South Park episodes are not one for jokes.
Oh man, look at that one. It looks delicious. What? Succulent and juicy. Can we have a free sample of these too?
This might be one of the most razor-focused episodes in this entire season. It doesn't beat around the bush, it doesn't get distracted, it's just non-stop veal-related fun. The premise here is that the boys find out that veal is baby cows, which upsets all of them, except for Cartman, but it especially upsets Stan, who decides they're gonna steal the cows and keep them in his room until people agree to stop eating them, which leads to angry parents, protests, and FBI negotiations. And that's pretty much all there is to this story. This is an episode about the boys being activists, and that's what we get from beginning to end. In fact, almost the entire story takes place at Stan's house aside from a few scenes at the very beginning. So it really doesn't get sidetracked at all. It's just about the boys being on a mission together, which is something I've always really enjoyed about this episode. I like how you can really feel their camaraderie. They're a team with the way they support each other, help each other handle the situation with their parents. It's very one for all and all for one except Cartman.
Yeah! Wait, what?
You know, they make that joke, but the fact that Cartman is there at all is impressive to me given that he doesn't actually care about baby cows. And that's not even getting into how his psychopathic negotiating skills end up being extremely useful for them when the FBI gets involved. Like, seriously, the stuff he gets out of their terrible negotiator is completely insane and I love it. But the other main role here, of course, goes to Stan, who is their leader and the moral voice of the protest. He initiated it, and he's the one that they go to for the next decision. The only thing I don't love is that Butters and Kyle are kind of less significant here. You know, Butters is just there for laughs and Kyle is mostly in the background because for some reason Kyle just barely gets any agency in season 6. But yeah, despite that, I still really enjoy that the four boys spend this whole episode working together as a team. And I like that it even brings their parents together, forcing them to act like a team too. And oh hey look, Cartman's mom was invited. Isn't that neat? Now, for an episode that is about speaking out against animal cruelty in the food industry, I really appreciate that it's not ham-fisted with its message. But seriously, even though it's encouraging people to stop eating veal, it doesn't go full vegan either. They recognize that eating meat is a natural part of our diet and go out of their way to make a distinction between choosing not to eat veal and choosing to give up meat altogether, which I appreciate because I don't want to eat babies, but I do like cheeseburgers. Yeah, that's not going to sound weird out of context. Besides, why wouldn't I eat cheeseburgers? Everyone knows that cutting out meat completely turns you into a giant pussy.
It occurs when a person stops eating meat. Those sores on his skin were actually small vaginas. If we hadn't stopped it in time, Stan would have eventually just become one great big giant pussy.
Whoa, dude.
I will say though, this episode can be a bit of a bummer to watch sometimes. I mean, I know that's the point, but those baby cows are just so damn cute. I don't want to think about them dying. Hell, I know people who refuse to watch this thing at all because of that alone. So I guess the episode did its job well. But hey, sometimes you gotta endure stuff like that to enjoy a great South Park episode. After all, as the old saying goes, if you can't handle me at my tortured baby cow, then you don't deserve me at my hostage situation wharf.
This whole thing is ridiculous.
Captain, this whole thing is ridiculous.
Captain, this whole thing is ridiculous.
You know, sometimes I wish I didn't start these list entries with a little blurb at the beginning, because I have no idea what to say half the time. And there's so much pressure to be entertaining and funny, and I'm none of those things, which is why I'm writing about having writer's block, because that's a cheap and easy way for me to sound genuine and relatable, without actually having to think or use my brain in any capacity at all. Anyways, this next episode is about Russell Crowe.
Oh my god, it's Russell Crowe!
Oh my god, it's Russell Crowe! Oh my blah, blah, blah. Why don't you go flush yourself down a toilet, you cunt?
The new Terrence and Phillip movie trailer is probably the most unique episode in the entire season. Actually, scratch that, it's one of the most unique episodes in the entire show. Because unlike your typical South Park episode, this one takes place in real time, which means that for almost all of its 20-something minutes, every second in the show is equal to a second in real life, which is a pretty neat concept, I think. The plot here is very simple. The boys want to catch the new Terrence and Phillip movie trailer during the commercials of the Russell Crowe show, so they're forced to run around town finding TVs to watch it on because Cartman's an idiot. And yes, I realize that I'm once again ranking a straightforward episode with a simple plot higher than Ladder to Heaven, even though I complained about the plot there. But I actually think that the simplicity really works to its benefit here because of the gimmick. The real-time nature of the events gives off this frantic sense of urgency as the kids scramble to find a place where they can watch the show. It makes every setback that much funnier, especially given how it all ends with Butters revealing that they could have just gone to his house the whole time. And for people who watch this on TV before streaming platforms were around, the fact that the commercial breaks in real life lined up with the commercial breaks in the show made it feel like we were with the boys for the entire episode, like we never skipped a beat. But of course, that's not the main reason why I love this episode. I think we all know why I love this episode.
Well, we couldn't find cancer, but we found a man with cancer. Take that, cancer, and that!
This depiction of Russell Crowe is so bat crazy that it's a thing of beauty. Like seriously, I think this is one of the funniest things that South Park has ever done. The way he's so belligerent, aggressively challenging everyone and everything to a fight. It's just so good. And I don't know who came up with the idea of giving him a boat friend named Tugga, but mwah, genius. Also, if you've never listened to the director's commentary for this episode, I highly recommend you do, because their story about Russell Crowe, which inspired this episode, is almost as funny as the show itself, which is saying something. Now, I'm sure that there are some wrong people out there who don't love the Russell Crowe stuff, and they may not like this episode very much for that reason, but I think that even for people like that, there is still a lot to love here, because this episode does a really good job of incorporating different characters and different locations within South Park to deliver a nice variety of humor. We had stuff like the old people attacking the boys with farts, Shelly's period flooding the house, Chef chasing after his TV, and that one scene where they go to Skeeter's.
We're not kids. We're full-grown men with dwarfism. How dare you assume that all midgets are children? We demand an apology.
You ain't midgets, your lips are too full.
I don't know why, but that line always really stuck with me as a kid. Made me really self-conscious about my lips. Anyways, overall, I think that this is a very balanced episode with a unique format, some hilarious gags, and a nice amount of variety to it. So, in a lot of ways, it's similar to Ladder to Heaven, except better, because it has Russell Crowe.
Tiger's whistle's blowing, means we must be going. No more Russell Crowe-ing for you.
Man, this is such a crazy list. Like, I know that this whole time I've been saying that season 6 is great, and of course all of these episodes are fantastic, but now that we're at number 6, the quality of these episodes is just off the charts. Like, it was so hard to order these last few entries because every single remaining episode is one of my all-time favorite episodes, which I guess means that even though I would have never predicted this before I started, the next episode is Red Hot Catholic Love.
Hello there, children.
Chef, what would a priest want to stick up my butt?
Goodbye.
It's Father Maxie's Big Break! What? Yeah, I don't know who was asking for this back in 2002, an episode that focuses on Father Maxie for its main story, but thank you? Because this episode is awesome. And like I said, it was very unexpected. Back in the day, Father Maxie wasn't exactly the most popular character. He occasionally had some more prominent roles in the stories, but those roles weren't always the best look on him. Especially in the Korn episode when he faked a bunch of ghost pirates that actually killed people because he doesn't like the band Korn. But then came Red Hot Catholic Love, an episode that changed how we saw him by making him its likable protagonist. Here, Father Maxie is the only rational and normal priest in the entire Catholic Church, which is otherwise filled with crazy, Nambla types. Yeah, we'll just call him that. Which means he gets the honor of being South Park's voice of reason against the Catholic Church. Now, the way they set this up is hilarious because it all starts with Father Maxie realizing that people are becoming disillusioned with the church, which is only happening because, well, everybody knows what those priests be doing with those boys.
The Catholic boat is gonna be heading on out today.
One of my favorite things about this episode is how it portrays the Catholic Church as this crazy, out-of-whack institution. Which, I mean, it is, but they hyperbolize everything to the point where, like, nothing makes sense anymore. The Pope isn't just old, he's, like, fully senile. And the religion has been spread so far and thin that we now have to worry about the Galgamech vagina, which is 3 feet wide and filled with razor-sharp teeth. And of course, you know, as we all remember from Sunday school and Bible study, it all really comes down to the Queen Spider.
The Vatican rules cannot be changed, so saith the spider.
Hail Queen Spider!
Now, I'm actually planning to talk about a lot of this stuff a lot more in a future video I'm doing about South Park's take on religion, so stay tuned for that. But one thing that makes this episode so great is that it's not just a critique of the Catholic Church, it's a critique of atheism. Because in case you forgot, this is the episode where people figure out that if you shove food up your butt, you could poop out your mouth. And that just so happens to line up with all the parents leaving the church and becoming atheists, giving us these scenes where they're sitting together and talking about how they want society to be sensitive to their new atheist ideals, all while literally spewing from their mouths.
If I'm going to raise my son to be atheist, I don't want him saying under God every day at school. That could really damage him. Under God should be taken out of the... Excuse me.
It's a hilarious visual metaphor and a classic example of South Park taking both sides, which in my opinion was very ahead of its time in this case, as most progressive thinkers were far more critical of organized religion than they were of atheism back then. Now at this point, I'm sure you're thinking, damn, Slush is right. This was a good episode. But guess what? That's not even the whole episode, because the part that I still haven't mentioned yet is that Cartman wins a bet with Kyle by proving that you can crap out your mouth, which turns into this ongoing gag of him rubbing it in Kyle's face throughout the entire episode.
It's just that I can't decide what to buy with your $20. I was thinking of getting this Mega Man Racer for $19.95, or I could get 2 Broncos trading packs for 10 apiece, and then I thought...
Sadly, this is one of the few Kyle-focused storylines in the season, but it's actually not a bad one. I mean, the dynamic with Cartman is great, especially with how delightfully dickish he gets with each increasing antic, which effectively pisses off Kyle more and more. But we also get a nice Kyle W at the end of the episode, where he gets the last laugh by taking the hit to his ego and admitting defeat to Cartman, thus completely robbing him of his power over him. A nice little ending that lets Kyle flex his maturity in a way that doesn't come off as whiny or annoying. Now, is this the funniest Cartman situation of all time? Probably not, but it's still good. I mean, like, what do you want me to do? Give him a freaking medal?
Young citizen Air Cartman will be given a freaking medal.
Now, this next episode is special to me because back when I was a kid, it was my all-time favorite episode. And while I'm sure that 13-year-old Slush would be pissed as hell that it's only coming in at number 5 on this list, he's 13, so who cares what he thinks? Anyways, I consider this next episode to be a very important moment in South Park history because long before there was Giant Douche and Turd Sandwich, there was the biggest douche in the universe.
And the winner for biggest douche in the universe is... It's John Edward, Milky Way Galaxy, Planet Earth!
Ah, now come on now!
Here he is,
the biggest douche of the universe.
Yeah, everybody seems to remember the giant douche from Vote or Die, but nobody remembers Ursula the giant douche. Put some respect on Ursula, for God's sake. Anyways, this episode is the big dramatic story of season 6, and the conclusion to the Cartman-Kenny possession arc that began in A Ladder to Heaven. It's got Cartman almost dying with this ER-type opening scene, Kyle almost leaving South Park to go to Juilliard, and all sorts of kooky fun in the end. Now, of all the episodes on this list, I'd say this is probably the most pop culture satire entry by far. It's got those classic Rob Schneider movie trailer gags that are all rated PG-13. And it's got the John Edwards stuff that criticizes his use of cold reading to pretend he's a real psychic, which is arguably not as funny as the Maury Povich stuff in the episode Freak Strike. But in my opinion, it's a much more satisfying and poignant critique. Because not only does it have Stan acting like a total badass when he exposes Edwards for being a fraud, but it's also got a very sharp final message at the end about how we all allow ourselves to believe things that couldn't possibly be true because it helps us cope with our fears of loss and death. But of course, we don't just like South Park because it makes good points. We like it because it's funny. Because funny make me laugh good. And yeah, this episode is very funny. Some of that is so obvious that you don't need me to say it. Like, I don't need to explain what makes the Rob Schneider trailer so great. But there are tons of good, smaller moments too. Like the stupid doctor at the beginning of the episode that's talking to Cartman's mom. Or the people who are too dumb to understand what Stan is trying to tell them when he's explaining that he's not a psychic.
Okay, let's back up. Not literally.
But of course, I think we can all agree the greatest thing about this episode is that it marks the return of Chef's parents. Thank you, yes, they are the best characters on the show, hands down. And this is probably their most glorious appearance of all. Everything they say and do is just so automatically funny. And I love this weird spiritual voodoo stuff that they've added into the mix here. Like, come on, how can you not burst out laughing when they extract Kenny's soul from Cartman's body and start asking for the victim child?
All right, son, now bring me the victim child. The victim child? Yeah, you know, the child that we sacrificed so we can put Kenny's soul into its body.
Oh, Lord, they didn't bring a victim child.
It is sad that this is the last time we ever got to see them again, but man, what a final appearance it was. Plus, this is all thanks to the fact that this episode actually gave some love to Chef, which was much deserved in my opinion. And honestly, that's just another reason that I like this episode as much as I do. I'm a sucker for that dynamic when Chef is involved. So yeah, all around, I think this is just a very strong entry that has something for everyone. It's funny, it's got an engaging storyline, a good teachable moment, Chef's parents, and a ton of Kenny action to close out that possession storyline. The only real downside I could think of is that it's slightly less friendly to new viewers, just because of the whole Cartman-Kenny thing. Not that it makes the episode unwatchable, but it might be confusing for someone that's not already aware of the whole possession thing. But honestly, that's just a small nitpick and nothing too major. Though I gotta say, knowing the story does make that final movie trailer joke that much funnier.
Rob Schneider is Kenny. Rated PG-13.
Listen guys, I know it's inevitable that people are gonna argue in the comments about which episodes they think are the best, which episodes they think are important, but for this next episode, can we just agree that Towley deserved more screen time?
Okay, wait. No, wait.
Remember how I said that season 6 was the most experimental season of the show, that really shook things up? Well, this is the episode that takes full advantage of that. And you probably already know why. Because Butters becomes Professor Chaos and Tweak becomes the new friend. And I mean, yeah, those are some pretty big changes to the dynamic of the show. Personally, I've always loved how they handled this in the most meta commentary way possible, you know, making the entire thing focus on finding a replacement for Kenny, because that's literally what they were trying to figure out behind the scenes. But I also just love the whole finding a new friend reality show thing in general. It's a fun concept, and I like the chill vibes of their confessionals with the fake friends music and their perspective on the other kids. Not to mention the fact that we get to see a bunch of side characters again, like Luigi and Dog Poo. Yes, I'm just saying his name because it's really fun to say Dog Poo in a YouTube video. And yeah, I even enjoy how the competitions they hold reveal these interesting quirks about the characters.
If you were our friend, how would you keep us entertained?
Oh, I know.
Very nice. I like it.
I just find it really amusing that Token thought to do that and that the boys were into it. I feel like we all learned something there. But wait a minute, Hold on a sec. Where are my manners? I shouldn't be talking about this competition right now. That's not the real main story of this episode. I should be talking about Butters. I mean, it is called Professor Chaos after all. The Butters story here might be one of the greatest highlights of the entire season for me. Professor Chaos was just such a brilliant direction to take the character. It evolved his personality while providing new ways to make Butters funny, and they did such a good job of blending the two personas. I love seeing all the harmless evil deeds that he gets up to, switching the plates, hiding the erasers. You could tell that they really understood Butters as a character by this point. It just does such a great job of capturing his innocence and desire for mischief all at the same time.
Yes, go on and see the red mark on my elbow. The red mark I made myself to throw you off Professor Chaos's trail.
It looks fine, Butters.
It's funny cause it's cute. Also, speaking of side characters, this part of the story actually takes things a step further and gives new life to Dougie, who gets to become Butters' partner in crime as General Disarray, which is an example of them going beyond just giving a cameo appearance to the secondary characters, by giving one of them an actual purpose too. So yeah, not much else to say about this one. It's easily one of the best episodes in the entire show. Every scene has something funny going on, and this list is just insanely stacked, because this is the level of episode we're talking about when we still have 3 more to go. You know guys, lately I've been trying to stop myself from rushing all the time and take life a little bit slower, be a little more mindful throughout my day. Because honestly, there's enough awful crap in this world to stress about and to get anxiety about, and I'd rather not get worked up over a bunch of crazy nonsense that probably won't happen to me. That's just a terrible way to live life. Anyways, this next episode is the exact opposite of that.
To realize that children are not safe outside.
Oh, God, change it!
Children who are taken by strangers. The bottom line, children are not safe in their own homes.
Of the few episodes we got with Tweak as the new friend, this is the one that probably fits him best. And that's because this entire episode is all about fear and anxiety. A town that goes on red alert over worries of child abduction, quickly spiraling out of control. It was basically made for a character like Tweak, and it really benefited from that newfound focus on him. We see Tweak worry about ridiculous things that could never possibly harm him, like an elderly woman trying to cross the street, or a guy in a dead wheelchair that's stuck on the train tracks.
I'm not supposed to talk to you,
Please, this isn't funny, kid. You have to help me.
but it could be a trick! That's a pretty good trick.
This is an episode about irrational fears, and so Tweak is just the perfect messenger, especially once he gets abducted, an actual crazy situation coming to life, and then suddenly the anxieties of his family are now being adopted by the rest of the town. From there, the focus kind of shifts away from Tweak and onto the adults and the rest of the town instead. We start seeing that all the kids are being forced to wear tracking helmets, or their parents are following them everywhere they go. They build a wall around the town, and eventually they even send their kids off to live in the wild because they're scared that they'll abduct their own kids.
Where are you going?
I'm just going to go upstairs and see if Tweak is still in his bed.
Oh, I think I'll go with you.
It's okay, I can do it.
I just want to make sure that you...
That I don't abduct him? How do I know that you haven't done it already?
Fun fact, it's actually true that the most common abductor of a child is the parent themselves, but it doesn't apply to a married couple living with their child. It's more like a divorced parent taking their kid without permission. And I just think that knowing that makes the joke extra funny. From this point on in the episode, most of the humor comes from the adults and how incredibly stupid they are. We have them rabbling at town square, congratulating themselves when their kids win the baseball game against nobody because they built the wall. But probably the best adult of all in this entire episode is none other than Mr. Lou Kim, the City Walk guy. His part in this episode is incredible. The whole defending the city wall from the Mongolians thing was just so out of nowhere and so well done. Just another example of Trey and Matt tapping into those universally funny bits, but then adding that South Park twist. But yeah, the comedy is really the reason that I rated this episode so high. Whether it's Tweak, the adults, Mr. Lou Kim, the Mongolians, the spicy self-awareness. It's all just packed with so many top-tier jokes that I find to be iconic to this era. Though I will say I do wish we focused more on Tweak instead of trading focus off to the town, especially since this episode focuses so much on anxiety. I mean, that's like Tweak's main character trait in a nutshell. Why not include him more? But yeah, while it would have been cool to see more of him, I still think this is one of the best episodes in the entire show. And hey, at least we still got the ghost of human kindness.
So do you think you can learn to trust people now?
I'll try.
Good. Then why don't you get into the back of my van and I'll drive you home?
People will tell you that this next episode is a very special episode for a variety of reasons. They'll say it's because it's funny, it's creative, maybe even groundbreaking, but the real true answer for why this episode is so special is that it's not about Harry Potter.
Hey, what are you guys doing? We're playing Harry Potter. Ha!
Before you go in the comments asking if I needed to censor that, yes, I actually did, because YouTube is so strict that I can't risk it thinking I'm saying a different kind of Harry there. Anyways, look, I'm not gonna do a deep dive into this episode since I already have a 30-minute video analyzing it. And honestly, I really don't know what else I can say here that I haven't already said there. But to put it bluntly, what a great episode. And what an amazing way to start off the now beloved tradition of getting all the South Park kids to roleplay a giant game together, because it truly was the first of its kind. But the thing is that this episode is not just a prototype for things to come, it's one of the best of its kind too. Like, it set the bar for role-playing episodes at an all-time high by creating this creative parody of Lord of the Rings that perfectly blends into the style of South Park. Like, the way they figured out how to make this a one-to-one of the movies, while also being about kids running around with a super messed up adult movie, it's genius. It's such a great setup, and it has tons of payoff. Whether it's the ending speech with the parents, the scene where Token watches the movie, anything with Butters, there are simply too many great moments to list them all. Now, I'm sure people will be surprised by the fact that I put this at number 2 instead of number 1, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised too, but hey, that's how I felt when writing this, so I'm just gonna honor past me for it. But yeah, that's all I really have for you on this one. And I know this was drastically shorter than all the other sections because of my desire to not repeat myself too much, but to reward you for your dedication, please accept this clip of Butters being absolutely demented.
Yeah. Butters, what the hell are you doing? Playing Lord of the Rings. Get the hell off me!
Before we move on, it's only right that we honor the fallen as we approach the final entry on this list. So here's every episode that probably should have made the list, but will instead be immortalized on my channel as the episodes I was slightly less into during the weeks I made this video.
I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. I know you were.
Well, I guess that means there's only one possible episode left for that number 1 spot. My number 1 choice, The Death Camp of Tolerance.
Ah, here's a good one. It's the stereotypical sleepy Mexican.
What? Oh, man, what time is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were a wax sculpture.
No, man, I'm the janitor. I'm supposed to be cleaning, but I'm so tired. Oh, so sleepy.
Even I'm a little shocked by this, but yes, apparently my favorite episode from season 6 is a Garrison-focused episode. Definitely didn't see that coming, but I do think it says a lot about season 6 as a whole, since it's one of the most side character-focused seasons in the early years. But also, what a crazy episode this is. A story about Garrison trying to get fired from South Park Elementary for being gay, so that he could sue the school for millions of dollars, but failing miserably because the whole town has become so tolerant that they'll put up with literally anything. The setup here is just ripe with opportunities for a show like South Park. It's a game of how far can we take things with Garrison, coming from a show that isn't afraid to do anything. And as we all know, that quickly escalates from Mr. Garrison spanking Mr. Slave in front of the class to shoving a gerbil inside him.
Well, let's see.
Lemmy Winks? No!
Also, shout out to Mr. Slave. This is the episode that introduces him, and he's a very underrated character in my opinion. But yeah, these ridiculous attempts at getting fired are very funny, but what really sells it all is how the reasonable complaints from the boys and even Chef are immediately turned down because of tolerance culture. The school doesn't see the gerbil thing as animal cruelty or depraved behavior. They just see it as super gay, and that's okay, which is ironically more homophobic than they think the kids are being. But yeah, it's this brain-dead approach to tolerance that really makes this episode so good and juicy. And like I've spoken about this before, but the craziest thing about the sentiment they're making fun of here is that it feels like a modern issue more than one from 25 years ago. Like, if you think about it, PC Principal is really not that different from the tolerance Nazis at the death camp that forced the kids to finger paint anti-racist pictures.
What is it? What have you done?
People of all colors and creeds holding hands beneath a rainbow!
Good! That wasn't so hard, was it? Now do it again!
And that's what's really wild to me. Their exaggerated take on PC culture in the 2000s ended up being similar to where Western culture was actually going in the 2010s, hence the existence of PC Principal from season 19 onwards. Anyways, all that good stuff with Mr. Garrison and the boys getting punished for their concerns is just half of an amazing episode, because the other half is Lemmy Winks. Yes, Lemmy Winks, possibly one of the most memorable gags in the show's history, is from this episode. It's bizarre and it's random as all hell, but that's what makes it so great. And according to the director's commentary, it was a parody of Lord of the Rings, making fun of how Frodo just travels from one place to the next with very little agency. So technically, Lord of the Rings did make it into the top spot, just not how you thought. I think some people would argue that it's lazy to have a side plot that doesn't really interact with the main plot in any way, shape, or form, other than, you know, the one scene. But I don't know, that's kind of why I like it so much. It's just funny. The music and the characters are all just great, and they have hilarious names, and it's got that legendary theme song.
Lemmy Winks, Lemmy wings, lemmy wings, lemmy wings.
There's definitely a lot more that I could say about this episode. I didn't even talk about the Tolerance Museum or the hypocrisy of the culture itself, but that's just gonna have to wait for another time because I'm saving those points for a full video on this episode so I can make more money off of it. But I would like to know what you guys think. I don't usually do this at the end of my videos, but what's your top 10 season 6 look like? I'm curious. How different is it from mine? What temperature of island song is best for this scenario? Post your answers in the comments below along with your credit card number and expiry date. And until further notice, all hail the Gerbil King.